In today's episode of Automation You Should Try Today, we are putting the spotlight on Workato, not as yet another automation tool, but as an orchestration engine that can make your revenue stories think for themselves. Today's demo is about something we call revenue narrative intelligence, orchestrated entirely by Workato. Now, that might sound fancy, but here is what it really means. Imagine AI stepping in as your smartest, calmest team member and saying, "Don't worry, I'll handle the messy data stuff." What it does is it goes across every system that knows your customer, be it Salesforce, Snowflake, Amplitude, Oracle, Qualtrics, 11 signals in total, gathers and interprets those signals to understand what they mean and builds a complete business story you could actually use in your next QBR. So let's dive into the use case. Superhero of our story today is Maaya. Now you would ask, who is Maaya? No, she is not some Maaya from SRK's imagination. She is a rockstar customer success manager who wakes up every quarter to what she calls QBR season. And she says it in the way people talk about flu season. Like nobody's excited and everybody's about to suffer. Her job is to explain how the customer is doing, but the story she needs is scattered across systems, signals, and half a dozen versions of the truth. So instead of being strategic, she ends up spending her time chasing data or stitching context together and trying to turn chaos into a narrative. And that's exactly where revenue narrative intelligence comes in. If you boil down Maaya's horror story, it really comes back to the same set of problems every quarter. First, she has to spot which accounts are quietly drifting towards risk. Then, she has to pull signals from a bunch of different systems that were clearly not designed to be friends. Then comes the hardest part, figuring out what each signal means on its own, what they mean together, and how to turn that into a story leadership can actually use. Then she needs to present those in a meaningful way while keeping fingers crossed that the data doesn't change by the time she is done. And all this leading to hours of productivity loss to data plumbing and analysis instead of actual customer strategy. So what is the real issue here? Is it lack of data? Absolutely not. It's the amount of manual effort required to turn scattered signals into a decision-ready narrative. And that's exactly the gap this solution is designed to close. Before we jump into the live demo, let's visualize what this automation will do to Maaya's day. Maaya gets a Slack notification telling her which accounts are coming up for review and already showing signs of risk. She picks the account she cares about, and as a next step, instead of Maaya opening 47 tabs and praying for strength to deal with data chaos, she leaves to have her favorite cup of coffee, and Workato continues from there. Behind the scenes, Workato Genie pulls together 11 different signals across the customer lifecycle from various different systems via Snowflake, and then reasons through what's actually happening and turns all of that into a processed QBR narrative that Maaya can actually read. And then comes my favorite part. It doesn't just throw the output into some sad document, it transforms the narrative into a polished HTML brief, stores it, and generates the shareable link back to Slack for Maaya to review by the time she's back from her coffee break. So with that, let's see this in action. What you are looking at here is the starting point for Maaya's experience. She uses Slack for day-to-day work communication and occasionally sharing Kate memes. Workato is running a proactive process in the background, keeping an eye on accounts that are getting close to renewal and showing signs of risk. She just selects the account she wants to prepare. In this case, we are choosing Acme Corp. Workbot immediately confirms the request, and that's basically her signal to go get coffee. From here, everything is orchestrated behind the scenes by Workato. By the time she is back, she is presented with an HTML report which is ready to be reviewed right within the Slack. Okay, Now put yourself in Maaya's seat. You open this brief, and right away, it's not just pretty, it's useful. It starts with an executive summary, which is exactly what you want when you are short on time and long on anxiety. In one view, it tells you this is a high urgency 120K renewal expiring on May 19, just 36 days away, with risk signals stacking up fast. As a CSM, that is gold, because before you do anything else, you know the size of fire and how quickly you need to move. Then, as we scroll, the structure starts doing a lot of thinking for you. What's happening commercially, what's happening in product, what's happening with people, and what's the move from here. Let's track product adoption. This section tells you that usage is down to 64% over 4 months. The value here is simple. It tells Maaya this is not a vague engagement issue. This is a measurable product erosion. And if she wants to save the renewal, she needs a conversation about adoption, not just a friendly check-in. Then you get to support health. Now the story gets sharper. There is an unresolved API rate limiting issue hurting the ops team. That's huge because support data gives the why behind the usage drop. The change signal section is where the politics of the account shows up. The CTO is departing, which creates a sponsorship gap at exactly the wrong time. As a CSM, this section is priceless because it tells you whether your champion is still your champion, whether their org chart just became a risk factor, and whether the relationship rebuilding now matters as much as issue resolution. Now here is the part that makes this feel enterprise ready instead of just being impressive. Every one of this section comes with explainability. You can see where the data came from, what system produced it, and how frequently it refreshes. That's massive because in real review, somebody always asks, where did this number come from? And for once, the answer is not, give me a second, I know it was in one of the tabs. The trust is built into the page. Now that we have seen the demo, let's come back to Maaya's horror story before this solution for a second, because this is where the value becomes very obvious. The first problem was simply knowing where to focus. Instead of waiting for someone to notice a renewal is getting wobbly, Workato proactively identifies the right accounts and surfaces them in Slack. Then there is the ugly middle part, the data plumbing. All the chasing, exporting, reconciling, and checking whether one version of truth still matches the other, that's now owned by Workato orchestration. And this is the distinction that really matters. The genie doesn't stop at retrieval. It reasons across the signals, looks at usage, sentiment, support, payment, change events, goals, and expansion potential together and explains the account in a way a human can act on. The trust layer matters too. Agent Studio is positioned around governed genies with observability and controlled connection to business tools, which supports the idea that this is not just powerful, it is enterprise appropriate. Then finally, instead of handing Maaya a block of generated text and wishing her good luck, the platform turns the output into a polished HTML brief with structure, readability, and the presentation quality built in. So when you put it all together, the shift is pretty dramatic. Maaya stops spending her energy assembling the story and starts spending her energy using it. And QBRs are just one use case for revenue narrative intelligence. The very same signal augmentation and interpretation can drive a bunch of other use cases built from the same connected signal model. What you saw today was more than a QBR demo. It was a glimpse of what enterprise AI looks like when it's actually wired into the business. Workato brings together orchestration, governed agentic reasoning, enterprise data access, and polished delivery, everything in one platform. And that's exactly why Workato is so exciting right now.